General Grievous. On the sinkhole world of Utapau during Revenge of the Sith, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi is dispatched by the Jedi Council to eliminate General Grievous, the supreme commander of the Separatist droid army. Grievous is a unique opponent. His skeletal frame is mechanical, his limbs entirely cybernetic, but his brain, heart, and lungs remain organic. These vital components are encased within a rib-like durasteel frame, and further shielded by overlapping armor plates designed to resist most direct strikes. The battle begins with an exchange of lightsaber blows. Grievous uses 4 stolen Jedi weapons at once, each held in one of his mechanical arms, moving them in independent yet coordinated attack patterns. Obi-Wan's defense is precise. He strikes at joints, forcing Grievous to lose one weapon after another. With all 4 sabers eventually destroyed or knocked away, Grievous turns to brute strength, using his enhanced limbs to overpower Kenobi. When the fight spills out onto the landing platform, Grievous attempts to flee in his wheelbike. Obi-Wan gives chase, seizing a fallen DT-57. As the pursuit comes to a halt in a final standoff, Obi-Wan manages to open Grievous' chest, forcing the durasteel plates to part slightly. This exposes the organic organ sac, pale, membrane-like tissue surrounding the heart and lungs. Obi-Wan fires Grievous' blaster directly into this opening at point-blank range. Bolts deliver intense heat and concussive force, boiling internal fluids and rupturing tissue instantly. The heart is destroyed within the first shot, halting circulation entirely. The lungs collapse from direct burns, preventing oxygen exchange. Without circulatory or respiratory function, the body's biological core shuts down in seconds. The cybernetic limbs spasm briefly as the organic control signals stop. Grievous collapses, his mechanical claws scraping against the deck until motion ceases completely. Captain Needa. In The Empire Strikes Back, Captain Lorth Needa commands the Imperial Star Destroyer Avenger, tasked with intercepting the Millennium Falcon. After the Falcon evades capture by hiding on the back of a Star Destroyer and later drifting away unnoticed, Needa takes personal responsibility for the failure. He requests an audience with Darth Vader aboard the Executor, the flagship superstar destroyer of the Imperial fleet. Upon entering Vader's presence, Needa offers his formal apology for losing the Falcon. Vader does not speak. Instead, he raises one gloved hand slightly. An invisible force clamps down around Needa's throat. Unlike a manual chokehold, a force choke compresses tissue from every direction at once. The trachea collapses inward, its cartilage rings snapping with audible cracks. The esophagus is forced shut, cutting off all airflow. Needa's knees weaken first as hypoxia sets in. His vision narrows to a dark tunnel before he collapses completely, brain function ceasing due to lack of oxygen and blood flow. Vader releases the invisible hold, allowing the lifeless body to fall unceremoniously to the deck. The execution serves as a silent message to the rest of the crew. Failure has only one outcome. Jango Fett. During the opening moments of the first Battle of Geonosis in Attack of the Clones, bounty hunter Jango Fett operates at the center of the Petranaki arena, wearing his full Mandalorian armor, equipped with a jetpack, dual Westar 34 blaster pistols, and an array of concealed weapons. Fett is among the most feared mercenaries in the galaxy, hand-selected by Count Dooku as the genetic template for the Grand Army of the Republic's clone troopers. Fett demonstrates his skill early in the engagement, killing Jedi Master Coleman Trebor before Trebor can ignite his blade. But the chaos of the arena changes quickly. Jango engages a massive reek, a horned beast released into the fight. The reek charges, striking Jango hard and damaging his jetpack. This limits his ability to use vertical mobility, trapping him on the arena floor. Mace Windu, a Jedi Master, and second only to Yoda in the Jedi Order, approaches through a field of droids. Jango opens fire with precise shots, but Windu deflects them effortlessly. In a sudden burst of speed, Windu closes the gap. With a single horizontal sweep of his violet lightsaber, Windu cuts cleanly through Jango's neck, at the point just above the armor collar. The blade's plasma core, at over 25,000 degrees Celsius, sears instantly through skin, muscle, and bone, cauterizing as it cuts. The cervical spine is severed, along with the carotid arteries, jugular veins, and spinal cord. Brain death is immediate, as neural control of the body is destroyed. The helmeted head separates from the torso, landing on the sand a short distance away. The armored body remains upright for a moment before collapsing. Darth Maul. In the final act of The Phantom Menace, the duel between Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the Sith apprentice Darth Maul unfolds inside the Theed Power Generator Complex. Maul, wielding a double-bladed lightsaber, uses acrobatics, kicks, and aggressive strikes to keep the Jedi off balance. After a prolonged fight, Maul isolates Qui-Gon and fatally stabs him through the torso. Obi-Wan engages Maul with renewed intensity, but is driven back toward the edge of a reactor shaft. Maul knocks his lightsaber from his hand and force pushes him off the catwalk. Obi-Wan manages to grab a lower ledge, hanging just below Maul's position. Feigning defeat, Obi-Wan waits for the right moment. As Maul paces near the edge, Obi-Wan uses the Force to leap upward while summoning Qui-Gon's fallen lightsaber. In one seamless motion, he ignites the green blade mid-air and swings horizontally through Maul's waist. The plasma blade passes entirely through Maul's torso at the lower ribcage, severing the spinal column, major blood vessels, and abdominal organs. The cauterizing effect of the lightsaber seals the wound edges, preventing blood spray but leaving scorched tissue. Maul's upper body and lower body separate completely, falling down the shaft in two distinct pieces. The loss of the lower half of the body, combined with catastrophic circulatory disruption, makes survival impossible. Count Dooku. In Revenge of the Sith, Count Dooku, also known as Darth Tyrannus, faces Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi aboard the separatist flagship Invisible Hand. The duel is part of Chancellor Palpatine's plan to manipulate Anakin toward the dark side. Dooku begins with a controlled Makashi lightsaber style, intended for precision and defense. Early in the fight, he isolates Obi-Wan, knocking him unconscious with a force push, leaving Anakin to face him alone. Anakin's attacks grow increasingly aggressive, his strikes faster and heavier than Dooku anticipates. The power behind the blows forces Dooku backward, until Anakin traps both of the Count's blades between his own in a scissor motion. With a burst of strength, Anakin wrenches upward, severing both of Dooku's wrists at once. The hands, still gripping the hilts, drop to the floor, leaving Dooku defenseless. Palpatine immediately urges Anakin to kill him. After a moment's hesitation, Anakin ignites both his own lightsaber and Dooku's, and brings them down in a single crossing motion over the neck. The plasma blades slice cleanly through muscle, vertebrae, and arteries, cauterizing the wound instantly. Destruction of the brainstem causes immediate brain death, falls forward before tumbling to the floor. The body slumps lifelessly to the side, the severed wrists lying motionless nearby. Savage Opress. In the Clone Wars, Darth Sidious travels to Mandalore to confront his former apprentice Darth Maul, who has taken control of the planet. Maul is joined by his brother, Savage Opress. Sidious wields two red-bladed lightsabers, moving with inhuman speed and precision. The duel is relentless. Savage and Maul press the attack together, but Sidious easily counters, breaking their formation. When Savage overcommits to a wide, horizontal slash, Sidious sidesteps, pivots, and drives both sabers inward from opposite angles into Savage's torso. The first blade pierces through the left lung, collapsing it instantly. The second thrust angles upward into the heart, severing major arteries and causing immediate loss of blood pressure. The penetration also cuts through the diaphragm, impairing breathing function. Savage staggers backward, dropping his weapon as Sidious twists the sabers inside the wound, inflicting additional organ damage before pulling them free. Massive internal bleeding begins instantly. The loss of oxygenated blood causes hypovolemic shock, and within seconds, Savage's legs buckle. His breathing becomes shallow and erratic until it stops entirely, his body collapsing in a final twitch of muscle reflex. Han Solo. In The Force Awakens, Han Solo walks across a narrow catwalk inside Starkiller Base to confront his son, Ben Solo, now calling himself Kylo Ren. Han attempts to appeal to Ben's former self, asking him to abandon the dark side. Kylo appears conflicted, lowering his head before quietly thanking his father. Without warning, he ignites his crossguard lightsaber point blank. The central plasma blade penetrates through Han's lower chest and upper abdomen, burning a channel through skin, muscle, and organ tissue. The entry path likely pierces the stomach and part of the liver, with superheated plasma cauterizing some edges while causing thermal burns to surrounding structures. The side-mounted crossguard blades extend into Han's flanks, possibly puncturing the lower ribs or even the kidneys. Severe internal bleeding begins immediately, and the damage to core muscles destabilizes Han's stance. He rests a hand on his son's face in the final seconds before Kylo withdraws the weapon. Han falls backward into the open abyss, ensuring death from the combined effects of organ destruction, blood loss, and the fatal fall. Boba Fett. Boba Fett's apparent death in Return of the Jedi comes during the battle over the Great Pit of Carkoon on Tatooine. After being struck by Han Solo and losing control of his jetpack, he crashes into Jabba's sail barge and tumbles into the open mouth of the Sarlacc. The pit is not just a creature, but a living trap, lined with tentacles, teeth, and a digestive system designed to keep victims alive for centuries while slowly breaking them down. The film offers only a glimpse, but the lore surrounding the Sarlacc makes this one of the most gruesome fates in the franchise. Victims are dragged deep into the creature's gullet, immobilized by muscular appendages, and kept conscious by chemical secretions. Over time, the body is dissolved slowly, while the mind remains trapped in a kind of waking paralysis. Expanded Universe material described it as a nightmare of unending digestion, where each second stretches into suffering, making Fett's fall one of the most feared deaths imaginable. While later canon reversed his fate by showing his escape in the Book of Boba Fett, the original presentation was deliberately cruel. Unlike a quick blaster bolt or lightsaber strike, this was a sentence to centuries of torment, where the victim's body and mind are consumed in tandem. For audiences, the horror lay in imagining what happened after the cut to black. The long, slow dissolution in the darkness of the pit. A death that combined violence, imprisonment, and psychological torture. Darth Sidious Lightning. In Return of the Jedi, Darth Sidious attacks Luke Skywalker with sustained force lightning aboard the second Death Star. The electrical discharge causes immediate neuromuscular spasms, intense pain, and potential cardiac arrhythmia. Before Sidious can kill Luke, Darth Vader intervenes, lifting the Emperor overhead. As Vader carries him toward the reactor shaft, the lightning arcs wildly, striking both Vader's armor and the surrounding walls. The voltage is enough to scorch metal plating, meaning the biological tissue inside is subjected to lethal levels of electrical current. Sidious' body convulses violently, but Vader does not stop until he hurls him into the shaft. In canon, the fall ends in the Death Star's reactor core, where the energy release consumes his body completely. In Legends, the result is even more graphic. The combined effects of the reactor energy and the uncontrolled lightning vaporize the flesh entirely, reducing the Emperor to fragments of ash and charred clothing before obliteration. In both versions, the death is instantaneous and leaves no intact remains. Snoke's bisection. In The Last Jedi, Supreme Leader Snoke sits in his towering throne aboard the Supremacy, the flagship of the First Order. The throne room is dimly lit, bathed in deep reds, with Praetorian guards standing in silent formation around the perimeter. Rey, captured by Kylo Ren, is brought before Snoke as a prisoner. The Supreme Leader's goal is simple: to force Rey to reveal the location of Luke Skywalker, and to bend her will, or destroy her. Snoke exerts his dominance immediately, using the Force to lift Rey from the ground and immobilize her in midair. She struggles, but cannot move. With a flick of his fingers, he wrenches Luke's old lightsaber, the weapon once belonging to Anakin Skywalker, from her belt and sends it hurtling to rest beside him on the throne's armrest. Snoke taunts her with visions of the inevitable, claiming he can see every thought, every intent inside Kylo Ren's mind. As he monologues, Snoke speaks with absolute certainty, describing how he can sense Kylo turning the lightsaber and preparing to strike down his true enemy. He believes that enemy to be Rey, and he delights in narrating the execution before it happens. What Snoke does not realize is that Kylo's target is not Rey. It is Snoke himself. Kylo, without moving from his position, uses the Force to rotate the hilt of the lightsaber resting beside Snoke. The slow, deliberate twist aligns the emitter towards Snoke's midsection. With perfect timing, Kylo ignites the blade. The golden flash of the ignition is followed instantly by a violent hiss of superheated plasma cutting upward through Snoke's waist and torso. The blade slices in a single fluid motion, entering from the hip and traveling diagonally toward the opposite shoulder. The lightsaber's energy sears through muscle, bone, and vital organs in less than a second, cauterizing the wound edges instantly, but delivering irreparable destruction. The spinal cord is completely severed, cutting off all neural control below the wound. For a brief moment, Snoke's face remains frozen in shock and disbelief. Then gravity takes over. His upper torso slides away from the lower half, falling heavily to the throne room floor. The legs remain seated for a fraction of a second before toppling sideways. The cauterized cross-section leaves no blood spray, but the physical separation of the body halves leaves no possibility of survival. As Snoke's remains collapse, the throne room falls into silence, until the Praetorian guards spring into action, forcing Rey and Kylo into a desperate fight for survival. The suddenness and precision of the kill market, as one of the most decisive and most visually shocking executions in the Star Wars saga.